period. I practically ran to the library, my backpack bouncing against my spine. Uncle Henry was waiting in the parking lot in his old pickup truck. The red paint faded but clean. He looked older than I remembered, with more gray in his beard and deeper lines around his eyes. I showed him photos of the journal entries on my phone, swiping through them quickly. His face got darker with each one, his knuckles white as he gripped the steering wheel. He said he always knew something was off about Dad's arrest. The story never made sense. Too many holes, too convenient. He asked if I still had the actual journal. I told him where I hid it, and he nodded approvingly. He said we needed more than just Dad's suspicions. We needed real evidence, witnesses, something concrete. He knew some people who worked at the bar that night. Maybe they saw something, remembered something the police didn't bother to ask about. Over the next 2 weeks, I met Uncle Henry at the library 3 more times. Each meeting felt like a spy movie, checking over my shoulder, taking different routes. He'd tracked down Edward, who was working security that night. Edward was a big guy with kind eyes who remembered everything. He remembered Brandon being there, which was weird because Brandon had told police he was home all evening watching TV. Edward said he saw Brandon go into the bathroom right before Dad, maybe 30 seconds. But Edward had been too scared to speak up after Dad got arrested so fast, afraid of getting involved, afraid of Brandon who had connections everywhere. Uncle Henry also found Carolyn, who was bartending that night. She had curly red hair and a sharp memory for faces. She said Brandon had been coming around for weeks before the incident, always asking about Dad's schedule, pretending to be friendly. She thought it was strange but didn't think much of it at the time. People asked about regulars all the time. She remembered Brandon ordering a drink that night, a whiskey neat, then disappearing for a while before the body was found. She'd been the one to call 911, her hands shaking so bad she could barely dial. The breakthrough came when Uncle Henry talked to Brian, who managed the bar. Brian was an older guy who'd run the place for 20 years. Brian mentioned they'd upgraded their security system a month before the incident. The police had only taken the main camera footage, but there was a backup system that recorded the hallway to the bathrooms. Brian still had those files on an old hard drive in his office. He'd forgotten about them until Uncle Henry asked, the drive gathering dust behind old liquor invoices. We met at Brian's house to watch the footage. His living room smelled like cigarettes and coffee. My stomach was in knots as Brian connected the drive to his laptop. The timestamp showed Brandon entering the bathroom at 9:47 p.m., walking casually like he had all the time in the world. Dad entered at 9:52 p.m., probably just needing to use the bathroom after his shift. Brandon came out at 9:51 p.m., checking his watch and smoothing down his shirt. Dad came out at 9:53 p.m. covered in blood, shouting for help, his face a mask of shock and horror. It was clear as day. Brandon had 4 minutes alone in that bathroom, more than enough time to call someone and set up a frame job. Uncle Henry copied the footage onto multiple USB drives, his hands steady and methodical. He said we needed to be careful about how we handled this. We couldn't just go to the police. Brandon might have connections there, friends who owed him favors. We needed to build an airtight case first. He told me to act normal at home, not to let on that we knew anything. It was the hardest thing I'd ever had to do. But Brandon must have sensed something. Maybe I was a bad actress. Maybe he was just paranoid. He started getting more aggressive. One night he came into my room and sat on my bed, the mattress dipping under his weight. The hallway camera couldn't see him from that angle. He said he knew I'd been sneaking around with Uncle Henry. Someone had seen us at the library, probably one of his buddies who seemed to be everywhere. He said if I didn't stop whatever I was doing, Mom might get hurt. He said accidents happen all the time, his voice casual like he was discussing the weather. People fall downstairs, cars have brake problems, gas leaks happen. I understood the threat, felt it settle in my chest like a cold stone. I was terrified but tried to stay calm, keeping my breathing even. I told Uncle Henry at our next meeting, whispering even though we were alone. He said we needed to move faster. He'd been in touch with Dad's lawyer, showing him